Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to the LOP podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy lands of South Florida, and today's date is Friday, April 16th, 2021. And I am at Downtown Saloon, located at 10 South New River Drive East, which is along the New River, near the county jail and the courthouse, southeast section of the Andrews Avenue Bridge. Yeah, I was out and about supporting the Floridians First folks. Good people. Knew Gabriel Carrera for like 12 years, Tea Party and all that. But common interest. Check their website out, floridiansfirst.us. And like I say, all about these movements, you gotta always look at things the bigger picture. Everyone goes after a face value, but never actually has discussions with activists. Doesn't matter where it is. Even with the Tea Party, Occupy, you'd be surprised when you network or communicate what you have in common. So I've always had that method of my madness to see things a lot broader instead of jumping the gun. Yes, I can be critical with certain synthetic movements, of course. And rank and file, they're all bad people. I can say that. I'm critical with some, but not everyone in these groups are wicked, you could say, so oppressive. That's how I look at it. But yeah, it's good stuff. And one of the main objectives is to start doing things locally, think and act locally. So I always like that, because I always had that belief that we want to plant a seed, not no tree. And in due time, a lot of American people forget about the roots on a local level. They always want to go to the federal government. And it gets very tainted. And it backfires. So always got to look at these areas, and start talking to one another. Be neighborly. And don't get me wrong, even when I go to rallies, I get the big middle finger too, and I get inspired. So thank you for displaying your IQ of 1. But yeah, so I'll just kick it back a little bit. A little mellowed here, so bear with me. But so I'm going to be actually going to read. I got this from the Epoch Times, and it's an interesting article here. It's pretty long, I would say. Right? How long is it? Yeah, it's a good story here. This is going to be supposed to be a series. This is from the epochtimes.com. It's exclusive. Florida Governor DeSantis says lockdowns were a huge mistake. This was written by Ivan Penchokov and John Jenley. Ooh, hope I pronounced that. Yeah. Jen Cleland. Okay, cool. Hope I didn't butcherize their surnames here, their last names. This is what they have to say. Florida Governor DeSantis issued a statewide stay-at-home order on April 1st last year, locking down the Sunshine State for 30 days amid a global panic about the CCP Communist Party virus outbreak. Sitting in his office exactly a year later, he told the Epoch Times that the lockdowns were a huge mistake, including in his own state. Well, at least he was man enough to admit that. And I was, critical of that as well. But I knew you always got to, because the whole fear factor. So let's continue on. We want to mitigate the damage. Now, in hindsight, the 15 days to slow the spread, and the 30 days, it didn't work, DeSantis said. We shouldn't have gone down that road. Florida's lockdown order was notably less strict than some of the stay-at-home measures imposed in other states. Regional activities like walking, biking, and golf and beachgoing were exempted, while essential businesses were broadly defined. Our economy kept going, DeSantis said. It was much different than what you saw in some of those lockdown states. The governor, nonetheless, now regrets issuing the order at all and is convinced that that states that have carried on the lockdowns are perpetuating a destructive blunder. After 30 days of the initial lockdown in Florida lapsed, DeSantis commenced a phased reopening. He faced fierce criticism at each stage from the establishment media and his own constituents beholding to the lockdown narrative. The governor fully reopened Florida on September 25th last year. When cases began to rise as part of the winter surge, he did not reimpose any restrictions. Lockdown proponents forecast doom and gloom. DeSantis stood his ground. The governor's persistence wasn't a leap of faith. Less than 2 weeks after full reopening in late September, scientists from Stanford, Harvard, and Oxford were public with the Great Barrington Declaration, which disavowed lockdown as a destructive and futile mitigation measure. Declaration, which has been signed by 13,985 medical and health and public health scientists, calls on public officials to adapt the focused protection approach, the exact strategy employed by DeSantis. Despite dire prediction about the pandemic in Florida, DeSantis has been vindicated. On April 1st, 2021, Florida ranked 27th among all states in deaths per capita from the CCP virus, commonly known as coronavirus. That's still, you could say that's damn good for even a state with this many people and more coming in. So I do have to commend that. Ranking of significance is amplified because the Sunshine State population is the sixth oldest in the United States by median age. California, the lockdown state, often compared to Florida due to its lower per capita death rate, is the sixth youngest. The risk of dying from CCP is the highest for people over 55, with the group accounting for 93% of the deaths nationwide. While Florida is doing either better or relatively the same as the strict lockdown states in terms of CCP virus mortalities, the state's economy is booming compared to the crippled economies in California and New York. Though less quantifiable, the human suffering from the lockdown-related rise in suicides, mental health issues, postponed medical treatments, and opioid deaths is undeniably immense. It's been huge mistake in the terms of policy, DeSantis said. All I had to do was to allow the data and just be willing to go forward into the teeth of the narrative and fight the media, he added. As people were beating up on me, what I said was I'd rather them beat up on me than have someone lose their job. I'd rather have them beat up on me than have kids locked out of schools. I'm totally willing to take whatever heat comes out of our way because we're doing the right thing. And just to let you know, he's a family man too. All right, respectfully. So he has children. So it's not like thinking about himself here. Don't let them roll over us. The Epoch Times spent the day embedded with DeSantis as he crisscrossed the state from April 1st, jetting southeast from the east of the state government in Tallahassee to a press conference in Titusville, and then back north to Clay County Fair on the outskirts of Jacksonville. Across dozens of encounters with Floridians from all walks of life, one trend persists. People thank DeSantis for his work and his policies. Business owners praised him for not shutting them down. Chris Allen, the owner of Java Jitters, opened a coffee shop in Orange Park Mall during the pandemic. We could not have done that if it wasn't for DeSantis, Allen told the Epoch Times after personally thanking the governor during an encounter at the Clay County Fair. At the time of the interview, Florida's unemployment rate was 4.7% compared to 6.2% nationally. Lockdown states like New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California have some of the highest rates in the country, 8.9%, 7.8%, 7.3%, and 8.5% respectively. I have a tough time paying for a meal in Florida just because I saved a lot of these restaurants from oblivion, DeSantis said. Hours after this claim, a curly fry stand at the fair declined to charge the governor. DeSantis said some people get emotional when they meet him. Several interactions with the governor at the Clay County Fair resembled that description, and visibly moved elderly veteran urged to the governor not to let them roll over us. If he hadn't stood up, these people may not have jobs. The businesses may have gone under. The kids wouldn't be in school. There'd be all these things, DeSantis said. This really, really impacts people in a very personal way. I don't think anything prior to COVID that I've seen in politics can quite do it on this level. And it's really unfortunate that there were governors that had power who did the opposite. It really shouldn't depend on the governor. Reopening the state wasn't easy as lifting his own stay-at-home measures while DeSantis issued a final reopening order in late September last year. He signed a companion order prohibiting local Florida governments from restricting people from working or operating a business. The order had far-fetching consequences across the state, especially in densely populated liberal-leaning locales where the local authorities impose their own strict measures, which a lot of these orders do contradict the Florida Constitution, folks. Okay, so and I said that multiple times on my show, and I'll continue on here. DeSantis adopted a hands-off approach to local regulations at first, thinking that voters will ultimately hold local authorities responsible. It became obvious eventually that some places would remain locked down despite the data showing that doing so would have no positive impact on the spread of the virus. They weren't going to open this stuff up unless I pried it open, DeSantis said. We had the data. We talked to some of the best scientists in the country, DeSantis said, referring to Martin Kudrow from Harvard, Jayanta Bhattacharya from Stanford, and Santara Gupta from Oxford. Every Floridian has a right to work. Every business has a right to operate. In areas that were forced to reopen as a result, the economies are now booming with new hotels and restaurants opening, DeSantis said. DeSantis received a law degree from Harvard and is textualist when interpreting the Constitution. He believes barring the local authorities from placing restrictions on the people and businesses was squarely within its authority. You can't have 67 different minimum wages or 67 different regulations on hotels. We are one state economy, and we need to have certain rules on the road. DeSantis said. They are never going to admit they were wrong. Standing behind the desk at his office in Tallahassee, DeSantis leafed through a folder of praises he received from around the nation and across the globe. Hanging on the walls around a relatively small space was a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. I hate when you use Abraham Lincoln. Good grief. I'm not going to send him that book, The Real Lincoln. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights, as well as the uniform the governor wore as the captain of the Yale baseball team. When asked why he chose Lincoln, DeSantis said the president is the best example of a leader who make difficult decisions in a time of a crisis. Well, if you read The Real Lincoln, folks, you see things a little bit different. The man had a lot of rough edges, and I'm not going to crucify him, but I'll tell you this. In my personal view, based on my homework, the reason why he got assassinated because he ticked off the banks when he started using greenbacks. So, and it was an illegal war, too. Never been proved by Congress. And I know I digress. When asked why some of the leaders today have continued with lockdowns with even ample evidence of their ineffectiveness, the governor theorized that people involved have committed too much to the narrative and have made it impossible to change course. You have a situation where if you're in this field, the pandemic, that's something you kind of prepare for and you're ready for. And a lot of these people muffed it, he said. When people came to shove, they advocate policies that have not worked against the virus, but been very, very destructive. They are never going to admit they were wrong about anything, unfortunately. Elected leaders aren't the only ones to blame. According to the governor, the media and big tech companies played a major role in perpetuating fear about the virus while selectively censoring one side of the mitigation debate. DeSantis said the media and tech giants stood to benefit from the lockdown as people stayed home and consumed their products. It was all just to generate the most clicks that they could. And so, that was already trying to do the stuff that would inspire the most fear, DeSantis said. 2 weeks after the interview, an undercover video recorded at Project Veritas showed a technical director at CNN talking about the boost the network received due to its pandemic coverage. It's fear. Fear really drives numbers, CNN technical director Charlie Chester said. Fear is a thing that keeps you in mind, that keeps you tuned in. And I have to attest to that because I've seen already there's a 3-part series right now that may continue to 4. Go to projectveritas.com and you can see it for yourself. So they are correct on this. The fear-mongering worked, DeSantis said, pointing to CDC statistics showing that 4 out of 10 American adults delayed or avoided getting urgent or routine medical treatment in June 2020. The agency's report that the pattern may have contributed to the excess deaths reported during that period due to the preventable illness and injuries going untreated. Emergency room doctors have reported that fewer people were coming in with cardiac-related chest pains, with more were coming in with late stages appendicitis, something that is usually caught much earlier. The pandemic has also led to a sharp decrease in cancer screenings and detections because they're all saying that you can't go in the hospital because all the COVID patients are there. So I've seen a lot of footage, and if you folks remember, the one video they show people in New York, all these bodies being piled up. But if you listen in the background, the hospital on the ClearCom, the person was speaking in Italian or some Latin dialect. So I had to let the individual know about that. So that's what they always observe responsibly. And it says here, when you have people too scared to go to the emergency room when they're literally having a heart attack, that didn't happen in a vacuum, DeSantis said. Corporate media played a role in that, but really whipping up people into a frenzy. The profit motive wasn't only a factor, potentially driving the media's slanted coverage. According to the governor, the pandemic hit the United States in the election year, presented an opportunity to heap to blame on President Trump, Donald Trump. And he's right on that too. They viewed it as an opportunity to damage Trump. Obviously, they hated Trump more than anything, DeSantis said. And like I told everyone, he became the greatest scapegoat in presidential history. Now, I'm no Trump lover myself, but projection is always their game. They'll mudsling him complete, but the other person speaking, yeah, I'm going to screw you over. That's how it is. So I'll continue on here. Council of Censors. In the April 1st interview, DeSantis criticized big tech companies for censoring critics of lockdowns. Less than a week after the interview, the governor himself became the victim of censorship. YouTube, without warning, scrubbed videos of a roundtable discussion between DeSantis and prominent scientists from Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford, who addressed that lockdowns are ineffective. The American Institute for Economic Research was the first to flag the video disappearance. The original clip is now hosted on a different platform and appears along with a full transcript with the AIER website. Google and YouTube have not been throughout this pandemic respirators of truth and scientific inquiry, but instead have acted as the forces of a narrative, a big tech council of censors in service of the ruling elite, DeSantis said in a response YouTube censorship during the April 12th video conference call with all 3 scientists from the banned video. Happened to me, episode 1284 on the Million Masters March, and from the first one, that's continuation, got banned, and they gave me a whole song and dance because we're talking about alternative medicines and all that. Okay, and that's not good for Google. Okay, so hey, YouTube needs me more than need them. When they took down the video, they weren't really continuing what they've been doing for the past year. Stifle debate, short-circuit scientific inquiry, make sure that the narrative is not questioned. And I think that we've seen already that has had catastrophic consequences for our society. The takedown of the video suggests that big tech intends to keep exercising with awesome power it directed against Trump in the closing days of the previous administration. Twitter and Facebook banned the president, cutting off a direct line of communication between the commander-in-chief and tens of millions of Americans. DeSantis thinks that the power monopolies have now is far more extensive what the United States had witnessed at the turn of the century. What we've seen with the big tech and the censorship, they are exercising more power than the monopolies at the beginning of the 20th century ever could have exercised, the government said. The type of power that they are exercising now in some respects is even more profound than the type of power that government typically exercises. Of course, it's too obvious. And like I said, they need us more than we need them, folks. If people stop using them, they go under. Or not to, and start buying their stocks, right? That's how you counter it, man. No end in sight. DeSantis believes the lockdown states may never fully open because the leaders there have invested so heavily in the narrative while the voters have grown fearful. While restrictions are easing across the nation, only 6 states, including Florida, have fully reopened. According to a tracker maintained by USA Today, 8 states never issued a stay-at-home order. If you think your goal is no cases, then there may never be an end to it because you're never going to have zero COVID. DeSantis said, adding that a more pragmatic goal would be to aim towards a hospitalization rate indicative of respiratory virus endemic. But I don't know that they're willing to accept that reality. I think they're going to try to have no cases at all, which would basically mean there would never be a full end to these policies, which is scary. There's an article in the first of the series based on interviews conducted with Governor Ron DeSantis and senior members of his cabinet in early April 2001. So, I may do some more, and hopefully I'll try to get more of it. But, so at least he admit his errors, and which is fine. Human element, fear is a great weapon, and I'm not too surprised at all. That's why when my industry, I'd be at a tournament stagehand, heard about people getting COVID across the other side of the country in Nevada and Salt Lake City. And what has happened is that I had to plan and do my job, achieve my goals, which I did last year. So I'm very blessed about that. I never take anything for granted. All the money that I used, I got utilized on my land and property, my property. Yeah, so I can say that. Always got to think ahead in life and never take anything for granted. And get the stuff that you need. And how long can it last? Because right now, all these big spending sprees with this big debt over our heads can backfire at any time. What you gotta do is study the history, what happened in Venezuela when their central banking system, fiat currency, when they tried to Chavez decided to nationalize the money, everything was skyrocketing. Same thing occurred in Argentina in the 90s, and of course, don't forget the Weimar Republic, fall of the Weimar Republic. It has central banking as well. So it's one of the areas I know I'm going a little bit out of the way here, but you got to study his history. And I can't, so I won't. I just, if people know me well enough, even on my show, I did make some critical comments on some of his actions based up on my facts. However, in this one, I can't condemn him because of crucify his decision, because the fear was a great weapon. That's what happened. But at least he had the courage to say, the hell with it. He studied the facts, and it's all out there. One thing about COVID-19, my friends, is a vitamin D issue. When I see that video, I get inspired. By Dr. Ryan Cole. He did a real fantastic presentation. So look it up on COVID. But he's on Go to Rumble. It's very good. And that's why I tell people Mother Nature is a lot more complex than what we think. Lessons were learned, but try not to get caught in the same web, or other words, step on your own bear trap. I can see the state of Florida fully reopened, including Broward County. They're still going for their song and dance, and want to use gossip over actual correspondences. I know for a fact, we talked about that one item on my show, 92, on restrictions. But a lot more information is coming out. I want to deliver to them as well. I may just go to the next meeting, or no, I'll just do the email. But I may just do both. But it is important. You got to let everyone know. Every infection has an Achilles heel. The vaccines, according to the FDA, whether it's Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer, they don't cure the virus. That's a fact. So keep calm, stay vigilant on your health. We all have responsibilities. That's our main obligation, taking care of ourselves and loved ones. Not have the state do it for us. I close all the individuals out there still asking for the vaccines. Do your homework before shooting your mouth, running your mouth. It's not good. And you know what? That will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share this throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something that's interesting, want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to Quorum. Furthermore, I'll leave a footnote of this article on my speaker page. And if you want to contact me, you can do an email at LokiLuck number 03 at protonmail.com. If you want to donate, you can go to paypal.me or cash.app/LokiLuck number 3. If you want to support the Epoch Times, donate, subscribe. That would be fantastic because, hey, I love their work. I really do, and I'm glad I took a chance to check them out. I gotta subscribe to them, so I only got like a mini subscription right now, but it's a real good newspaper. See, we want accurate information at the best of their ability, not some drama queen rhetoric or the sideshows. All right, once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.